10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sport Karate Radio. Sport Karate Radio. Growing the sport of sport karate. Tune in each week for episodes with special guests as we discuss sport karate. Sport karate.
What's up, everybody? Sport Karate Radio. We got episode number 23 coming at you guys. We are live on Facebook. Check us out at sportkarateradio.com, as well as on iTunes, Google Play Music, and all of your podcasting apps that you use. We are probably on. Great episode. Before we get into things here, I want to take a minute and just talk about what happened over the week. Obviously, there was the AKA Warrior Cup that happened, and heck of an event. Great stuff. We're going to talk about that here coming up. But before we get into that, I want to talk about what happened online with an image that got posted. It wasn't the audience or the comments or the reaction that we were going for. But just in regards to what I said last week about Kam Dawson, everybody seemed to have their own opinion about it. And I'd say a good 95% of them were not positive. So I just want to say this before we get going, is that Kam Dawson, I'm looking into somebody's heart and telling him that he is not a man is not something that I would ever do, nor would I have the balls to do. That takes a lot of guts to do. Because I play the role of an analyst here on Sport Karate Radio, I'm dedicated to providing the detailed examination of players and events and more. Now, if I criticize a player for not living up to their potential, or if they're not doing as well as everybody else thinks, then I'm going to say that. That's what an analyst does, is analyze. Now, there's no bias or anything in that. And in fact, after all of these comments came throughout the week, I reached out to Kam Dawson, and there's no hard feelings or nothing between me and Kam Dawson. I told him anytime he wants to be on the show, he's welcome to come on. The guy I've never had an experience talking with him before other than, through this circumstance. But he seems like a nice enough guy. I got nothing against him personally. And, that's where we're going to leave it. I think that what I said last week, I stand by. I think that if better players were to show up like Ross or Raymond or Grenier or Zolt, if those guys showed up to AKA, that Kam would, probably not win. And for those people saying that I don't do my homework, I want to share this with you right here. This right here, all of this front and back is all just Kam Dawson. So don't come at me and say that I don't do my homework. I know what I'm talking about. It's fact-driven, the stuff that I say for the most part, and they are my opinions. So, you guys say what you want. I'm not tearing into anybody's heart. I'm not looking at them deep in the eyes, and I'm saying, you are a bad human being. That takes a lot of guts, and that's not what I'm about. So no hard feelings to Kam. Kam, anytime you want to come on the show, man, you are more than welcome to come on. All right, so before we get into our first story of the day, let's talk about some tournaments coming up. Tournaments coming up, we got the Compete Nationals, February 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 2019, followed by the Ocean State Grand Nationals, April 12th, 13th, and 14th. That's a little ways away, but mark your calendars for those two big NASCA events. So we talked about Kam a little bit, and I just want to re-say this. Kam, you're welcome on the show anytime you want to. There is nothing personal in regards to you as a human that were intended, and I just want to make that clear. He seems like a great enough guy. I'd love to have him on the show. Again, nothing bad said to Kam Dawson. Personally, if I'm going to analyze somebody, I'm going to analyze somebody. So let's take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk with a legend in sport karate as well as outside of sport karate. He's making a name for himself. You know him from much more than sport karate.
Attention martial arts instructors. Get the greatest gear for your studio in one place at centurymartialarts.com. Century is the go-to source for everything your students need to take them to the next level. Call one of our team members today at 1-800-626-2787 and find out about our wholesale pricing and other discounts for your school. That means you can get the lowest prices on the best gear, but only if you shop at centurymartialarts.com.
If you want to be the best, you got to compete against the best. Welcome to my turf.
If you want to win here, you're going to have to go through me.
You have to go 100% at all times.
If you want to beat me, you got to train harder than me.
I guarantee you, I train harder than you.
You think you're better? Prove it.
It takes hard work.
It takes dedication.
Be motivated.
You think you're the king of this ring? I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. No man can stop me.
This is Infinity National Championships.
All right, check out our friends at fighters-inc.com. All the latest gear inside and outside of the ring. And if you want to look good, that is the place to shop, fighters-inc.com. They got all the top brands for sport karate and traditional karate, as well as Thai. And pretty much any style you want, they got this stuff for you. Live via the Sport Karate Radio satellite, we have Terada. He just pointed out that his name is spelled wrong. I've been doing it for quite some time, and I apologize. I spelled your name wrong underneath your picture there, but not on the bottom. So my bad. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Thanks.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for coming on. I've been reaching out for quite some time, and we finally got you on. I'm super excited. This is a great season for us. We had Kam Dawson and you on now, and I got so much to talk to you about. I don't even know where to start, but let's start with this. Let's talk about stuff that you got coming up. You got a movie coming out.
Yes, I do. It's called The Art of Self-Defense, directed and written by Riley Stearns and starring Jesse Eisenberg. It's going to be premiering in South by Southwest in March and in theaters in June.
So where can people check that out once it's released in June?
It should be out in your local theaters.
It's an actual like big box movie, like in the movie theaters.
Yeah. That's what I'm being told right now. So, I don't think there's an official thing. It was just through the director and writer, but it's distributed by Bleecker Street, which is under Universal. Okay. So pretty excited for that one to come out.
Right. All right. So let's talk about sport karate here. Now, you've been out of the game officially for quite some time. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about here is, what do you think sport karate has evolved into? Now, you don't watch sport karate a ton, and you're not involved with it as much as you used to. But, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You can kind of take a view from the outside for a chance and look at what's going on. What do you think of what sport karate has evolved into right now?
Well, I still check in and watch forums in like the grands for tournaments when they come up, because I'm still friends and Facebook friends with like a lot of different people that still compete. But what I've seen is the difficulty has definitely gone up.
As far as what?
And in tricks and acrobatics and weapons. Like, it's mostly like on the tricks, basically. If you're looking at open, extreme, and difficulty, but the format really hasn't changed too much, which is kind of sad for me, because if I look back in generations before my era, like the golden age of like John Valera, and you had like Mike Chat, and like Kam Dawson, Arnold Chan, David Douglas. You can specifically look at their forms and know, oh, that's like a John Valera style form or a Mike Chat style form, or like
right. Everybody had their own style and creativity.
Exactly. So when I look up here, it's pretty much the same format. Maybe just it's a lot of like high energy, super fast, extremely difficult movement, but the style hasn't really changed. Every single year I kind of watch and check in, and it really hasn't changed too much.
So would you say that the level of creativity is driven by trends and not by personality?
I think excuse me. I think the what they really chase is especially in that area, it kind of goes similar to what tricking is that you go after the hardest moves, and since you have the internet that's so accessible now, you look at what's winning, and the people that are coming up kind of emulate that and try and get to that level, and then people retire and go on to different careers. And then I think that's kind of how the trend has been going. Because back in the day, you didn't really have access. So you had a whole month before the next tournament to see what your competition is up to and make adjustments throughout that time. And then during that time, you're workshopping and doing creative sessions for yourself to try and improve yourself. And that's how you get to really know what your style is as opposed to looking at other people and working on moves.
You know, one of the things that we see every single time somebody gets too big for sport karate is they just leave completely. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing for the sport because there is nothing else for that person to take advantage of within the sport. But that was the case with you, and you left sport karate and you pursued, the movie stuff and the quest crew stuff. But what was really the deciding factor where you said, all right, I'm not going to focus on sport karate as much anymore because I'm doing what?
Well, that was circumstantial almost, because even before on my last few years of being on the circuit with Paul Mitchell and traveling all over, I was already starting to get into dance and live shows things and doing stunts. I was doing both of those on top of trying to compete, which is a big time commitment in general. But I blew my knee out, my ACL, in 2008. 2008 at US Open at the tournament.
Right.
So I was still competing, and then I had a 6-month rehab session, and pretty much we went on and auditioned for America's Best Dance Crew right when I got off.
Okay.
So once we did that, we were sequestered, did the show, we won, and then after that, there were so many inquiries for us to go and perform nonstop for years and years.
So it was never intended that you were going to take advantage of this whole dance thing. It was just kind of something that you did and it took off.
Yeah, exactly. So it sometimes it's like that where you get an opportunity and you have to, focus on it and capitalize it when you have it. So I was never intending to actually quit the circuit. I was definitely expanding my movement with dance and learning a different skill set during that time. But to compete at the highest level in sport martial arts or whatever, you have to really focus on it. And I just didn't have that time to necessarily focus on it.
So if the whole dance and quest crew never happened, would you have come back to sport karate, or would you have found another passion at that time?
I'm honestly not sure. During the time of sport karate, I was still doing some like stunt work in films, and they kind of go hand in hand with the type of training, because you still work your kicks, work everything. Is just more about the creative side. That would be a little bit harder if you're trying to push the envelope in your divisions, because you have like I was competing in 4 different forms divisions with traditional, creative, extreme, and musical. You have to put time into drilling those as well as doing like fight choreography.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure how long I probably would have done it, but I still keep in contact with Paul Mitchell, and talk with all other people on there through the sports marketing side, touch base.
So we've heard from both Ross Levine and Kim Do about their experiences with Team Paul Mitchell. I'm just curious about yours, because the majority of your career in sport karate was spent with Team Paul Mitchell, as far as where we know you from. We know you because you were on Team Paul Mitchell. What was your experience with Team Paul Mitchell? Did it live up to what you looked at Team Paul Mitchell as when you were growing up?
Well, I think it actually did, and it exceeded it for myself, because during my early years, just to come out to tournaments or anything, it was really expensive, especially me coming from the West Coast, and most of the tournaments were East Coast.
Right.
So the only way that I would be able to do that would be sponsorship. And during that time, Paul Mitchell, for that time, had some of the best competitors that I looked up to. And that's just something that I wanted to be on, just as a prestige level. And just being on it, they would let me compete in any division that I wanted, which was amazing. I even did some point sparring in junior divisions. I wasn't good.
So they just said, Terada, you do what you want to, we'll pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as they wanted you to let me explore what I wanted to do. If I wanted to enter like traditional forms, which I wasn't doing at that time because like just means of money and things like that, they were letting me do those things and explore and try and evolve my game from being a junior going on into adults.
Right on. All right, we got to take a break here. When we come back, can you stick around for a couple more minutes?
Sure, yeah.
All right, when we come back, we'll get back to Steve Terada.
If you want to be the best, you got to compete against the best.
Welcome to my turf.
If you want to win here, you're going to have to go through me.
You have to go 100% at all times.
If you want to beat me, you got to train harder than me.
I guarantee you, I train harder than you.
You think you're better? Prove it.
Takes hard work.
It takes dedication.
Be motivated.
You think you're the king of this ring? I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. No man can stop me.
This is Infinity National Championships.
Attention martial arts instructors. Get the greatest gear for your studio in one place at centurymartialarts.com. Century is the go-to source for everything your students need to take them to the next level. Call one of our team members today at 1-800-626-2787 and find out about our wholesale pricing and other discounts for your school. That means you can get the lowest prices on the best gear, but only if you shop at centurymartialarts.com.
Check out our friends at fighters-inc.com. They got all the best gear, all the best uniforms, anything you need martial arts related, and you want to look good wearing it. That is the place to shop, fighters-inc.com. We're back to the Sport Karate Radio satellite. We got Steve Terada back again. We just got done talking to him about a bunch of different things about sport karate and why he decided to make the transition over to dancing and film stuff, as well as some other things. Check us out, sportkarateradio.com, as well as on Facebook, facebook.com/sportkarateradio, and on YouTube, just search for Sport Karate Radio. All right, Steve, I want to get into the tricking evolution. So we talked to Kim Do about this a little bit. The tricking evolution that I came up with started with Ernie Reyes Jr., followed by you and Kim Do, and then Matt Emig, Pinto Guthrie, and then Alan Davis is what I put at the end there. However, Danny Etkin should definitely be mentioned for this entire list down at the bottom with Davis. What's your opinion on this list here?
Yeah, there's definitely players and all those in the different evolution. If we're talking strictly from sport karate, there's definitely way more people during these eras that contributed a lot. There's even sub ones. I think between Ernie Reyes Jr. and everyone else, that there's like Carmichael Simon and like David Douglas and all those people like Manny being there. But
would you start out with Ernie Reyes Jr. or would you start out with somebody like Mike Chat?
I don't know if I would consider Mike Chat in tricking. for that. There's there's if we're talking strictly tricks.
Yes, tricking in sport karate, not
in sport karate.
Yes, in sport karate, not just tricking itself.
I might have to put Carmichael Simon in there with David Douglas.
Between Ernie Reyes and you guys?
Yeah. I'd think so. Just because, I mean, me personally, my lineage, I trained under David Douglas for a while too.
Okay.
And as well as like Danny Graham, I trained with him. We were both coached by him when Danny Graham was competing as a little kid. And just that's who I watched, like the Black and Blue videos.
Right.
Were one of the main contributors during that time. Also, you have to put in Anthony Atkins before, because he was definitely an innovator, one of the innovators of the old school corkscrew that's evolved into what it is today.
Right. So what about Matt Emig? Matt Emig has to be in there, do you think?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Actually, Matt Emig started competing before I even did.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to say that
circuit a long time, but since he was so young, he was always like our little brother during that time.
Yep.
So he was just one of those prodigy kids that if we did something, he'd end up doing it and then doing longer combos, and it's like when
just
you're that
one-upping
young,
you.
just a sponge of a combination of multiple people that he was coached and grew up with.
So I have to say that one of my favorite team forms of all time is you and Matt doing your form when you guys were both on Team Paul Mitchell. I don't know if it was at the U.S. Open or Diamond Nationals. It was at one of those two events during the night show, and it was great. I watched it a long time ago, and I came across it again. I think it was last week, and I watched it, and it just brought back so many memories watching both you and Matt Emig compete at all these different tournaments.
The only sync that I've done with Matt Emig was the XMA challenges, where we do those, the trick challenge. When he was with Daniel Sterling mostly, and I would compete against them too with Rudy Raynon.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna try to pull up this video if I can here and just kind of see. I'd feel like a real dumbass if I wasn't right on this. Get myself in more trouble than I was in last week.
Yeah, we definitely compete against Sterling and Emig a lot, and Rudy and I. Yeah, he's like my little brother.
Yeah, Rudy was another. Yeah, synchronized. Oh, okay, synchronized trick contest, U.S. Open.
Yeah.
See if I can get this. All right, we're going to give this a shot. I don't know if it's going to work at all.
Steve Terada. Oh, there's a Terada flair, his characteristic technique. Just a walk over.
Look at that hair.
Yeah, that was when it was growing out.
Now here, this is kind of unique. There's no synchronization, but they're kind of planned it out to be kind of presenting each other, but I don't think that's actually what the rules were supposed to mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories.
If I show too much, I might get in trouble.
Actually, Emig and I probably should have done synchronized forms at one point, because I feel like we have very similar styles.
Yeah.
In minute timing.
So, okay, between you and Matt Emig, who would win in a trick battle at your prime?
At prime, probably Matt, because since he hit later, he definitely had a more vocabulary of tricks, and the style evolution, I think during that time too was a lot better. I feel like my style wasn't what it's catered to today, just the longer combos. I was more just blow ups, like 3-hit combo type of style.
Yeah,
and trying to do variations. So I feel like if it was considered today's, I'd probably pick Matt's on that one. But if it was during my time, I'd pick myself.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. That's all we got time for. Anytime you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you. There's so many different stories out there that we can talk about throughout your career, as well as in Quest Crew, which a lot of people know you from. Outside of sport karate, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that people would recognize you from. But thank you so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to be the best, you got to compete against the best.
Welcome to my turf.
If you want to win here, you're going to have to go through me.
You have to go 100% at all times.
If you want to beat me, you got to train harder than me.
I guarantee you, I train harder than you.
You think you're better? Prove it.
It takes hard work.
It takes dedication.
Be motivated.
You think you're the king of this ring? I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. No man can stop me.
This is Infinity National Championships.
Attention martial arts instructors. Get the greatest gear for your studio in one place at centurymartialarts.com. Century is the go-to source for everything your students need to take them to the next level. Call one of our team members today at 1-800-626-2787 and find out about our wholesale pricing and other discounts for your school. That means you can get the lowest prices on the best gear, but only if you shop at centurymartialarts.com.
All right, we're back. We're talking about Karate Combat. Karate Combat just had their last event in Hollywood this past weekend. Great event. It was way better than the last one that I watched. I want to say 6 months ago. And this event was just action-packed. They had a ton of fights. The only problem that I had is I read something that they were going live at 10 o'clock, and they started at 9:30. So that hasn't changed from the last one that I watched to this one right here. They still have problems on their start time, as do we this week. But, man, what a great event. And for those of you that didn't watch it, it was a great event, and they had – let me pull up the image here. They had – where's the video, the image? They had our very own sport karate athlete, Kevin Walker, on there. And that, I don't think anybody really knew about it too much. Kevin Walker, unfortunately, lost his match quite quickly, unfortunately. However, this is the first step into another world for a sport karate athlete. Sport karate does not have to do with full contact. They are two very, very different things. Now, we talk about a couple episodes ago, I think, about the concussion protocol and stuff. Because it is a contact sport karate, people get hurt. And that's just the nature of the thing. If you're kicking somebody's head, somebody's going to get hurt at some point. But it is not intended to be that. It is always intended to be controlled. And somebody that has to control their techniques for years and years and years goes into a new thing, and they have the option of not the option, but they have been given the okay to not control any of their techniques, and they're still kind of stuck in that mode. And I think that's what happened to Raymond Daniels. The first couple times that he went out, he was still stuck in point fighting mode. And I think Kevin Walker, once he gets the hang of things, going from controlled contact to full contact, that he will be a hell of a fighter. He's got Raymond Daniels in his corner. He's got Jesse King, I believe it was, that was also in his corner there, or Jesse Ray, one of the two. So if he continues to train with the best, he is a great point fighter right now as it is. He didn't do that well at AKA Warrior Cup, unfortunately, but he is still nonetheless a great fighter. I think he's going to have a great deal of success in Karate Combat if he sticks with it and he learns how to switch from controlled contact to full contact and making those adjustments. That's what I got on Kevin Walker. Abdullah Ibrahim that's a mean dude. I was nervous from the get-go when I saw who Kevin Walker was paired up against. And, unfortunately, Ibrahim came out with the win and Kevin came out with the loss. But let's talk about Karate Combat for just a second here. Karate Combat, holy smokes, their production is still fantastic. It is the best production by anything martial arts related that I've ever seen. Live for that matter. As you can see in the picture for our visual audio or our Facebook audience, the image is image of their pit, and they had the live beats per minute of their heart rate, and all of that different stuff live during the fight that you could watch, and that's kind of what we're seeing on the bottom of the screen there on each corner. And they had the blue lights. I mean, it was insane. But man, what a great event! What a great event it was. I think Karate Combat is exceeding the expectations that people have thought it would be so far. I think that the first couple of times you can't judge anything based off of what they're doing just because it is the first steps. The first steps are baby steps. Kevin Walker, it's his first step into the full contact world, and I think that he is going to have success, but it's hard to tell just based off one fight. Karate Combat now has a handful of cards put underneath them, and they are coming up with wins, in my opinion. Karate Combat will be here to stay for the time being. They had Danny Trejo as not the ring announcer, but the guy who would call people in for the fights, and he'd say round one fight. It was just a really cool experience. Karate Combat, I think it's going to stay with us. Let's transition. Let's switch gears. Let's go into the best for last. Best for last, I thought I'd promote some events and some people that may or may not have happened in the past, and put them on a flyer and see what you guys think. So here's a picture of Drew Jarek Bisbee. The quote says, "The scariest human you'll see at any event, unless the Undertaker is present. Then it's a tie." And this is a scary looking dude. I always appreciated his forms just because he was so intense, so scary in his form, for a lack of better words. I think that if I had to guess, he would be a heck of a nice guy, a loving and fun guy. All right, so let's go to the next one here. We got, who do we got? We got Ross and Raymond at the Amerikick Open, I believe it was. And this is where Ross continued to follow up on punching after time was called, break was called for just a few more seconds. Raymond decided to fall off the ring and tear the entire banner off the backdrop down. And the quote for this one is, "Gafote. Greatest fall of all time. Ross punched Raymond off the stage, tore the entire banner down," and I believe it happened twice if I'm not mistaken. This is Gafote. Greatest fall of all time. And the last one that we have here is Buzz and Woody. Mike Welch and Charlie Lane, buddy and buddy. And this quote is, "To infinity and the past." To infinity and the past. Could you imagine if we had Mike Welch's Team Infinity versus the Charlie Lane competition team going against each other, both in their prime? This would be one of the best matchups that we have seen since the Team Freestyle beat against Team Infinity at the U.S. Open last year. All right, well, thanks, guys, for tuning in. This is going to wrap it up for episode number 23. And check us out next week. We'll be live again on Sunday. We'll be switching over to YouTube from now on. I know I told you guys we were switching from the group, but we like to keep the inconsistencies consistent. So we're switching over to YouTube from now on, live on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern. Check us out, sportkarateradio.com and facebook.com/sportkarateradio. Go to youtube.com and just search for Sport Karate Radio. That is where you can find us.